Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Produce Buzzers podcast. We are so happy you have joined us today, and I think you will be too after the show is over, because you will learn a lot about fresh fruits and vegetables, how to select and store them, how to prepare and cook them, and surprising facts about their history and origin. We hope it inspires you to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, not only for your health, but also for your delight and pleasure as you explore their amazing world of taste and delicious flavors. Eating more of them will transform your life in so many positive ways. So settle back, relax, and get ready for another delicious adventure with the Produce Buzzers. Greetings, fruit and veggie fans around the world. Thanks for tuning into the podcast today. I'm Edwin Stepp, executive editor of ProduceBuzz.com, and today we have another bonus segment from Season 2 of the series to keep you fed until Season 3 starts next week. This segment is short, so it's just a snack, but we think it will satisfy your hunger for all things fruit and veggie until we can serve you a bigger meal. In this segment, Theresa is going to tell us about the amazing nutritional value of leafy greens and how eating them every day can heart attack proof you. And after that, I will tell you about a very special onion that is harvested every year in April. But it's more delicate than other onions, so you can't get them all year round since they decay easier. You will want to know about these so you can get them in the next few months before they are gone. So let's get started. Theresa, you told me that when it comes to leafy greens in our salads that we should mix it up. What do you mean by that?
The best way to use greens in your diet is to get a mixture of greens because they all have certain things in them that are good for you, but none of them are exactly the same. And by eating a combination, you're getting a lot of good nutrients from them. And if you want to heart attack proof yourself, eat 5 handfuls of greens a day. That will really help with the blood flow in your body.
And what type of greens typically would that be that you would mix?
Things like kale, spinach, Swiss chard, romaine, collards, arugula, and iceberg lettuce. You can buy those containers where you get nice spring mix variety of greens.
So use the spring mix for your salad.
Because typically when I say greens, I'm thinking of collard greens, mustard greens, turnip green.
Greens that you cook more than eat fresh.
Yeah, the dense, they're more dense in nutrients. But then when I think of leafy greens for a salad, like iceberg lettuce, the spring mix salad greens, I perceive those as being not having that much nutrition.
Well, I think you're right with the iceberg. I think that you tend to be right. Isn't it the rule of thumb, the darker green, the more nutritious that it is?
Probably so, and also probably the more dense it is.
To Theresa's point, having a nice salad with that instead of just like straight romaine, you're going to get different nutritional values.
Yeah.
And I think it's just mixing it up. You can buy the mixed greens, but try to incorporate a lot of greens in your diet. I'm looking at a nutritional value for iceberg lettuce. It's kind of low in some of the things, but very high in potassium. It has calcium in it, not as much as some of the other greens I mentioned. Vitamin A, it has a good little shot of vitamin A, not as high as kale, spinach, Swiss chard, and collards. But
yeah, and as we mentioned maybe in past podcasts, I was with the California Iceberg Lettuce Commission for 7 years, promoting California and Arizona iceberg lettuce. And a lot of people who were up on nutrition would say to me, well, there's really no nutritional value in iceberg lettuce. And we were trained to say this. Yes, you're correct about that. But what's so good about iceberg lettuce is it's a method of delivering other vegetables and fruits into your diet by making an enjoyable salad. Because you put the carrots in there, you put the tomatoes, other vegetables with the iceberg lettuce, And so it's a very palatable way to incorporate all those other raw vegetables into your diet. So leafy greens are really good, probably much better for leafy green lettuces than iceberg lettuce if you like them. Some people can only eat iceberg lettuce because the other green leafy vegetables are just too bitter to them. And collards, of course, is probably at the top level of being bitter of all greens. Now, I've eaten raw collards before, but I actually would like to someday make a tossed salad with just fresh collard greens and see if I like it. But most people cook.
I wouldn't think it'd be that much difference in kale. I've never tried it, but
Yeah.
kale salads are delicious. And I think that's the other thing about iceberg. I don't eat iceberg much, but I really love the crunchiness.
Absolutely.
But I get that. I get just about the same with romaine, and I don't know that romaine is that much more nutritious. But
well, let's see.
But again, if you're mixing it, if you have a little iceberg with spinach and all those other lettuces that Cynthia was talking about, you got a good mix and get the crunch.
The iceberg, there is, a nice cold iceberg salad, like a wedge. There's nothing like that the crunch that it has. Absolutely. And I think that even if you get a romaine that is a baby romaine, it cannot compare with the crunch and the texture of an iceberg lettuce.
Yeah, you're
romaine
right.
Romaine has the highest amount of vitamin A of any of the greens I mentioned.
Really?
Amazingly enough, yeah.
That's interesting. How does it do on the other?
Of course, now the greens that you mentioned didn't include collards and turnip greens, right?
It didn't.
It did.
It did include collards. It did include collards.
Okay.
Okay.
For instance, romaine, 4,094 IUs of vitamin A. Collards, 1,807 IUs of vitamin A.
So romaine has more vitamin A than,
according to the USDA Food Composition Database. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I was surprised because you don't really you usually think the green as being connected with the vitamin A, the dark green. Mm-hmm. And, right. Romaine is not particularly dark. Maybe the outer leaves are, but.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's true. The outer leaves of romaine are pretty dark. But when you peel down inside and get into those inner leaves, they can be pretty pale. Thank you, Theresa, for encouraging us to mix it up with those leafy greens for our health's sake. And they are delicious, too, of course. A delicious way to improve our health. But let's move on. Produce Buzzers podcast fans, it's April. And April is a special time of the year because that is when a particularly delicious onion is released officially. What do you mean? Onions can have a release date? Are they like a new iPhone or a rock band's latest album? Well, no. But yes, it's true. There is a particular onion that has a release date. And while there was a time about 80 years ago that it was an exciting new discovery, it's not because its growers have created a new, more up-to-date version. The release date is for the new crop for the year. This onion, known as the Vidalia onion, is a sweet-flavored onion that is grown in a very small region of southern Georgia. The onion is not your typical pungent and spicy onion that burns the tongue and makes you tear up. No, in fact, it is so sweet that many people eat them right out of their hands like they would an apple. Because it has such a much higher moisture content than most other onions, one of the reasons it is sweeter, they do not keep as well in storage, and each year's crop is usually gone before the end of the year. So the arrival of the new crop is eagerly anticipated by chefs, foodies, and onion lovers all over the world. But the growers agree on a release date so that none of those onions get harvested so early that they don't have their signature sweetness. This ensures the highest quality onions go to market and protects the hard work the growers put in over the past few decades building the Vidalia brand. Vidalia onions are named for a town in Georgia, which is at the center of the growing region for the onions in the state. The soil in that region is particularly low in levels of sulfur, which gives onions their distinctive bite. In 1931, a Georgia farmer discovered that onions growing in his field were quite different than onions coming from other parts of the country. At first, people did not like them, preferring the more pungent taste of regular onions. So the farmer had some difficulty in selling them. But in a few years, word began to spread about the pleasant taste of this milder variety, and demand for them escalated. Now, Vidalia, Georgia, had a state farmers market where onions, being grown in the unique soil of South Georgia, were sold in great volume. The location of the town and market happened to be at a heavily traveled junction where tourists often stopped on long journeys. As a result, people from all over the East Coast and beyond were hearing about these delicious onions from Vidalia. It wasn't long after that farmers all over the region started planting hundreds of acres of them and began to build the industry into one that harvests almost 250 million pounds each year. But Georgia was not the first and is not the only place where sweet onions are grown. In a little town in Washington known as Walla Walla, a French immigrant brought a variety from his home country and planted them there at the turn of the 1900s. It has not enjoyed the marketing success of the Vidalia, but many people believe they are just as sweet. Texas also got in on the sweet onion craze, but not until the 1950s. And now the name Texas Sweets has some recognition with cooks as a rival to the Vidalia. Hawaii has also found some success with an onion name for one of its islands, the Maui onion. And another tropical island taunts its onions as just as sweet, Bermuda onions. Not only are sweet onions a little easier to eat raw, they do not irritate the eyes as much as other onions when they are cut or chopped. That is because they have a much higher amount of water and less acid in them. And why do other onions make us cry? Well, the official detailed explanation is filled with a lot of scientific chemicals with Latin names. So let's just say when the cells of an onion are broken down with a knife, it releases some of those hard-to-pronounce chemicals, and they begin to react with one another to create and release a gas that your eyes do not particularly like. The less acidic an onion is, the less likely it is to create tears. But who doesn't need or maybe enjoy a good cry every now and then, especially if there's a delicious meal waiting at the end of it? Yes, it is part of life to weep every now and then. One of America's greatest poets, Carl Sandburg, told us with his subtle wisdom that life is like an onion. You peel away one layer at a time, and sometimes you weep. But from this beloved culinary delight, we have a true friend. For as the Chilean poet Pablo Neruda wrote in his poem, Ode to the Onion, what else in the world can make us cry without hurting us? No, in fact, far from hurting us, the tears we shed in our relationship with the onion are a promise of its service to us through its marvelous versatility in cuisine all around the world. The onion has been a staple in almost every culture for thousands of years because of how ubiquitous it is. They grow in almost every climate and region around the world and have since the dawn of time. Wild versions of them have been around for millions of years. Evidence of the first cultivation of onions goes back over 7,000 years ago in China. In Egyptian records, they show up as early as 3500 BCE, and the ancient Greeks wrote about them often. The pharaohs of Egypt took them into their tombs because they believed the many layers of onions symbolized eternal life. They often placed them into the eye sockets during the mummification process of the dead. We can't promise you that eating your onions will give you eternal life, but we do know that they can certainly help to extend your life if you eat plenty of them. Onions not only provide flavor, they also provide important nutrients and health-promoting phytochemicals. They are very high in vitamin C and a good source of dietary fiber and folic acid. They also contain calcium, iron, and a high amount of protein for a veggie. So we hope you will seek out the new crop of sweet onions just hitting the markets now in April. But if you can't find them, don't worry. Eat plenty of the other ones and have a good cry. You probably deserve one. We hope you enjoyed this bonus segment of the Produce Buzzers podcast. Thank you for helping us conclude Season 2. And keep a lookout for Season 3, which will start very soon. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you will get notifications of the new episodes to come. We have some really interesting and delicious episodes planned for the next season. If you would like to help support our show, visit anchor.fm/produce-buzz/support. That's anchor.fm/produce-buzz/support. And there you can make a donation. We would be so grateful. Well, thank you, listeners, for tuning in to the Produce Buzzers podcast, brought to you by Produce Buzz, the gathering place for lovers of fresh fruits and veggies. We hope you were entertained a bit and educated a lot about fresh produce. Be sure to join us next time, and please tell your friends to do so as well. Like, share, and comment on our Produce Buzz Facebook page, and check out our website at www.producebuzz.com. There you will find articles about fresh fruits and veggies, how to select, store, and prepare them, as well as lots of interesting facts about all the wonderful bounty the earth provides for us. Until next time, be fruitful and don't forget to veg out.